So Jai Janendra, and welcome everyone to the third annual Engaged Jain Studies Conference, Compassion in Action. I'm Professor Christopher Jain Miller, VP of Academic Affairs and Professor of Jain and Yoga Studies here at Arihanta Institute. And we welcome you to what we hope will be for you an inspiring two-day online event that's going to be dedicated to exploring the theme of compassion in action. This conference is going to bring together scholars and also educators, practitioners, and members of the Jain community to share their insights, research, and lived experiences, importantly, on how we can all incorporate compassion into our everyday lives and broader social contexts. This is part of the Compassion Studies Initiative at Arihanta Institute. And this year's conference is really going to bring you a lot of engaging presentations and panel discussions. And for the audience members, I want you to know that this is interactive. They're going to be interactive Q&A sessions. You can use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to ask questions of our presenters at any time. And from time to time, we will be sharing links with you about various initiatives and things that are going on at Arihanta Institute that are related to the Compassion Studies Initiative. The conference is really designed, once again, to be interactive. We want you to have the opportunity to engage directly with the speakers through very dynamic discussions and Q&A sessions. So whether you're a scholar, a practitioner, or someone who's just interested in Jain philosophy and how it can be applied and engaged in everyday life, this conference is really meant to give you, this third time in a row, this is the third year we're doing this conference, a really unique platform to connect with like-minded individuals, learn from experts and thought leaders, and contribute your own perspectives on compassion. So please feel free, don't be shy to participate, communicate with us through the Q&A box. We will be happy to engage with you during the Q&A sessions. So another thing I want to make sure I say here before we get started is a special thanks to the Uberoi Foundation for Religious Studies, who supported this conference and the Compassion Studies Initiative this year. They really made this conference and much of what we're doing possible, not only for us at Arihanta Institute, but all of our affiliated faculty and all the participants who are here with you today. We give thanks on their behalf as well to the Uberoi Foundation for their support. Now, why human-human compassion? That's what we're focusing on in this conference. We're going to focus on human-to-human compassion. It doesn't mean we're going to leave animals and the environment and all of these things out, as we'll see. In fact, as we'll notice, compassion within the Jain tradition and in other Dharma traditions, and even outside the Dharma tradition, often apply to other forms of life. But one of the stereotypes within the field of Jain studies and within the field, you could say, of South Asian religions in general about the Jain tradition is that for some reason, there's no concern or enough talk about human-to-human compassion. And we want to make sure that this stereotype is erased this weekend. Because as we know, Jains do care about compassion. The Dharma traditions do care about compassion. And part of what we want to focus on is the compassion from one human to another, particularly in these very difficult times that we currently find ourselves in. And so we hope that this will inspire you to see how the Jain tradition and other Dharma traditions can contribute to creating a more compassionate and loving world. Now, I have experienced compassion in my own life, as I'm sure you all have. I was thinking before this conference began today about growing up as a child, how compassionate, for example, my grandparents were to me at certain times in my life, certain teachers I had, certain mentors, friends, other family members, who really, in moments when I needed it most, shared compassion with me. In fact, I would say I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be the person who I am if I didn't have that compassion extended to me many times in my own life. I've also been called to compassion and service, and I'm sure we can all likely relate to this, where we've been called to serve others, to be in a place of service, and to offer our service to others to make the world a better place. We can all relate to this. We've probably received compassion many times. We've given a lot of compassion, and that's really how it works. And we'll see why that is from the Jain perspective particularly. We'll see it, for example, today in Dr. Parveen Jain's keynote address about why this is important and how it relates to the Jain tradition and even beyond. Now, before we begin, I want to briefly acknowledge and thank our academic project coordinator, Diana Hewlett, who's here with us today. I wanted to give Diana an opportunity to introduce herself to you because she's been working with me and helping me so much, supporting me behind the scenes with the Compassion Studies Initiative and as well as with this conference, as many of you know. So Diana, please briefly introduce yourself so they know who you are.
Hey, thank you, Chris and Jai Janendra. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Compassion Studies Conference, Compassion in Action. It's been a gift to work behind the scenes alongside Dr. Miller and all of our fellow presenters. I'm delighted to see our collective vision come to life today. So I'm a graduate student in the master's program in Engaged Jain Studies here at Arihanta, co-facilitated with the Claremont School of Theology. And before stepping onto this path, I spent over 2 decades teaching yoga practice and philosophy, including serving on the faculty at Oregon State University. But over time, my work evolved towards the integration of contemplative practice, social justice, and animal advocacy, really looking at how all of these fields and all of these disciplines and all of this work overlaps with each other, particularly through my role as a writer and also as an animal photojournalist, contributor to We Animals Media, sharing stories that invite us to open our hearts to both the human and the more than human world. And it seems to me that we're all here today to speak courageously to the truths of our current social and ecological moment, and to collaborate on pathways forward that are illuminated by kindness and compassion to all beings. So I hope you feel free to reach out to me for support throughout the conference. I will happily drop my email address in the chat. If you need any support at all, please let me know. And here's to a very meaningful and inspiring weekend for all of us. I'll pass it on to Chris so we can get started.
Thank you so much, Deanna. Thank you for all your support with getting this organized and together. And I also want to thank the other members of our team as well. You're going to hear from our CEO, Parveen Jain, in just a moment. So special thanks to Dr. Parveen Jain and also to our entire team. We had a lot of players and a lot of hands in putting this conference together. We had our marketing team led by Kamlesh Mehta, and we have Taina Rodriguez Berardi, Opal Shah, for example, Kavita Mahendra. I try to remember everyone right now. Also Umesh Sagar, who's on our web team. A lot of people with a lot of hands behind the scenes helping to make this possible. So we thank our entire Arihanta Institute team, as well as all of you who are presenting and contributing to make this a memorable and special weekend as we talk about compassion in action. Now, just before we begin, I would like to hand over the mic for a moment to Dr. Parveen Jain to chant the Namokar mantra for us. Welcome, Parveen.
Om Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Uvajjayanam, Namo Loe Savvasahunam, Eso Panchanamokaro, Savvapava Panasano, Mangalanam Cha Savve Singh, Padamam Havai Mangalam. Jai Jinendra.